Hi guys. Okay, this is the review for the second quest for Chapter 3. Questions 1 and 2. Just want to make sure that you understand what you're being asked to do in questions 1 and 2. Okay, so draw a line down between them, okay? Because you've got, what it's asking is to determine whether the coordinate is a solution for the system. So we're not solving this system of equations, we're just testing it out. We're seeing if it works. Okay, so if I were doing question 1, okay, I've got an x value of -1, which I'm going to plug in here and here. And I've got a y value of 5 that I'm going to plug in here and here. Okay. So I'm going to make a t-chart. Two times the x is -1 plus the y value of 5. And I'm testing out to see if that equals 3. And you can either plug this into your calculator, or you can say 2 times -1 is -2, and -2 plus 5 is 3. So 3 is what I wanted to get, so that is a yes. That matches, that is a solution to the first equation. But you have to test both. So we'll make another t-chart for the second equation. 3 again times -1 minus 2 times 5, subbing in the 5. Here again, you can use your calculator, or 3 times -1 is -3 minus 10, which is -13. And that's a yes. Now, you're not finished with the question. This is not a full credit response yet. The full credit response is showing me that you understand what 2 yeses means. 2 yeses means that -1, 5 is the solution. That is your final answer and a full credit response. Sliding over to the second one. Here again, let's highlight our x value and our x's. Highlight our y value and the y. And then we'll start subbing in. So -4, instead of x, we'll have times 3. Instead of y, we're going to have 4. Okay? -4 times 3 is -12, and -12 plus 4 is -8. So I've got 1 yes. I'll continue on to the next equation. 2 times 3 plus 4. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 plus 4 is 10. Well, that does not equal. So that's a no. And one more time, that this is not done. You have to show me, if you want full credit, you have to understand and show me that you understand how to interpret what a yes and a no means. A yes and a no means that 3, 4 is not the solution. Okay? So guys, 1 and 2 is all about checking. We have been checking and checking and checking and checking all the time throughout this whole chapter. So that's what you are doing on 1 and 2. Okay, so for number 3, you're being asked to solve a system of equations by graphing. So I have our m of positive 2/3, and I have our b of -3. So b is also the y-intercept, And remember, B is begin. Okay, so we begin with a dot on -3. Our slope being positive means we're going to go up 2 and 3 to the right. So starting on that -3, we're going to begin on -3 and we're going to move, M for move, up 2 and 3 to the right. And we're going to put another dot. Up 2, 3 to the right, and put another dot. Then we're going to use our ruler and we're going to make a line to connect these dots. Remember, you want to use a ruler to make it as straight and as possible. You want to extend that line all the way from one edge of the graph to the other. Arrows at the ends of each line, and write the equation on the line. Y equals 2/3 x minus 3. That's a full credit line. Lots of little details to remember there. Now my second line says y equals -1/3 x. So -1/3 is my m. But there's nothing after the x. That means my y-intercept is 0. It means it's the origin. So my first dot will go here at the origin. Now negative means I go down and 3 to the right. So 1 down and 1, 2, 3 to the right. 1 down and 1, 2, 3 to the right. Okay? Draw your line with your ruler for your second line. Arrows. Label. Okay, and almost done. Don't forget this last part. Don't forget that we need to write the coordinates of the solution. X values go first. Y values go second. So if I'm finding the solution of this point where they cross right here, the x value of +3 goes first, and the y value of -1 goes second. Number 4. We have y equaling -2x plus 1. So our slope is -2. I need it to be a fraction, so I will put it over 1. Our y-intercept is +1. So it is where I begin. So I will begin on 1. Negative means go down. And, guys, if it's not right, it's wrong. Okay, so down 2, 1 to the right, down 2, 1 to the right, down 2, 1 to the right. And we get y equals -2x plus 1. That's our line. Our second equation also has a slope of -2 over 1. And perhaps now you figured out where this is going. And we begin on 4. So we're going down 2 and 1 to the right. Okay, so I will begin on 4, down 2, 1 to the right, 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 down 2, and 1 to the right. And these lines, as you can see, are parallel. They're parallel because they have the exact same slope. Okay? They both have a slope of -2. So they're going to move in the exact same way. So what that means here is that where it says solution, okay, and you have a spot to write coordinates, instead of coordinates, just write no solution. Okay? Write no solution when they're parallel. Okay, in our next problem, number 5, we are being asked to solve by graphing again. However, our equations are not in y equals mx plus b form. My first equation, what I would like is to have the y, then the equal mx plus b. And I don't have things in that order. Okay, so first of all, I want the x term to go to the other side of the equal, right after the equal, as a matter of fact. Okay, so the 3's got to move over and get out of the way. And for 3x, if we change sides, we change signs. So where this is a -3x on the left-hand side of the equal, it will be a positive 3x on the right-hand side of the equal. And the 3 I have just moved over. The 3y will come down. So don't forget, change sides, change signs. Okay, now I'm going to divide everything by 3 so I get y by itself. And y equals 1/1x plus 1. Now I could have simplified the 3/3 in front of the x down to a 1, and that 1 could have been invisible. But I know I'm going to need to graph this, so I might as well have the 1/1 stay a fraction so that when I do my m and my b, I have it all ready. So now I have my second equation, which also is not in y equals mx plus b form. I need the x, which is a 1x, positive 1x on the left-hand side. I need to move this over to the right-hand side. And then the 8 is going to have to move over to make room. So 1x, change sides, change signs. That'll be a -1x. And the positive 8 will just move over. The 2y will come down. Then I will divide everything by 2. And y equals -1/2 x plus 4. Okay, so now that I have both equations in y equals mx plus b form, I'm ready to start graphing. So my m in my first equation is 1/1. That means it's positive, so it means I'm going to go up 1, 1 to the right, and I'm going to begin on positive 1. Up 1, 1 to the right, up 1, 1 to the right, up 1, 1 to the right, and so on. Connect. Arrows and label. My m for my second equation is that negative 1/2. Oh, I gotta switch colors. And we begin on 4. Okay, so I begin on 4. Negative means go down, and 2 to the right. So 1 down, 2 to the right, 1 down, 2 to the right, 1 down, 2 to the right. Use your ruler and connect. Label your equation. And here again, I want to reiterate that what we're looking for, we are not done until we say what the solution is. The x value of 2 goes first, and the y value of 3 goes second. Order does matter. If you write it 3, 2, that's going to be marked wrong. Okay? Okay, so number 6 starts our algebra of solving systems algebraically. Okay, it's going to give you, I'm going to give you the method I want you to use. So that you don't have to really figure out which method you're using, you just have to know what it is. So substitution method, hey, that's when we have that one variable that's isolated, and no other variables are. So we put all of this that it equals in parentheses. I'll put the y in the other equation in parentheses because that's the letter that is isolated. And then I will start solving. So that's going to be 3x plus 3. Now I've hit that parenthesis, and I'm going to switch from the y here to a negative 2x plus 19. So I have swapped out parentheses. Then bring down equals 33. So my steps from here, I have to first distribute. So 3 times negative 2x is a negative 6x. And a plus 3 times a plus 19 is a plus 57. Bring 3x down. Now guys, listen, don't bring this plus sign down, because a positive 3 times a negative 2x is a negative 6x. We're not going to write plus negative 6 in there. It's just minus 6. Equals 33. So after we distribute, we're going to combine like terms. I see like terms right here. 3x minus 6x is a negative 3x. Plus 57 equals 33. After that, we've got a two-step. So we'll subtract 57 both sides. Negative 3x comes down. 33 take away 57 is negative 24. Divide both sides by negative 3. And x equals a positive 8, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, so we have part of this done. I still need to know what the y value is. So I can use either equation, but the one where y is already isolated, that's the easier equation to use. So y equals negative 2x plus 19. I will sub in I just found out x was 8. So I will sub that in for x here. So negative 2 times 8 plus 19. And either you will do negative 2 times 8 is negative 16 plus 19 is a positive 3. You can either do that in your head or use your calculator. Okay, so I now have my solution as x equals 8 and y equals 3. To check, I have to use the other equation. 3x plus 3y equals 33. T-chart, sub in. So 3 times 8 plus 3 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24, and 24 plus 3 times 3 is 9 is 33. And you're always welcome to type that into your calculator. And it matched, so I know I'm right. Okay, my second equation, or my seventh problem I should say, is also telling you to use substitution, but it's a different substitution because both equations are y equals. So I've got one equation that says y is 4x plus 9, and the other one that says y is 6x minus 7, and I will set them equal to each other. That means I have a variables on both sides equation. So the smaller variable term, being the 4x, is going to be the one that I cancel. Now, 6x minus 4x is 2x, but make sure you're bringing it straight down. Don't start your next line of work on the far left with the 2x. The 2x has to go underneath the 6x minus 4x. Bring the minus 7 straight down, bring the 9 straight down. So make sure that you're setting up your two-step correctly. So here's our two-step. We'll add 7 to both sides. 9 plus 7 is 16. Divide both sides by 2. And x is 8. Okay? X is 8. So the next phase of solving this equation is to pick one of the equations, solve the system I should say, pick an equation, doesn't matter which one, and sub our 8 in. So 4 times 8 is 32. 32 plus 9 is 41. Okay, so I've got our solution. Now I will check. So I have to use my other equation for my check. I found the y to be 41, and the x was 8. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 take away 7 is 41, and I know I did it correctly. All right, number 8 says we're doing elimination method. And the first elimination method on your quest is going to be one of those nice ones where the values cancel. So when I look at this, I see that my minus 2y and my plus 2y are opposite signs and they cancel. 2x minus 4x is a negative 2x. And a negative 10 and a positive 10, they just make 0. Now, normally something that cancels like that we would cross off, but since we're solving an equation, we need there to be a number there. So negative 10 and a positive 10 just make a 0. 0 is okay to have as a number. We don't see it too often, but it is okay to have. So then we'll divide both sides by negative 2, but x will just equal 0. And it's not a negative 0 because 0 can't be negative. 0 is not really positive either. 0 is just 0. Okay? So then we take our solution of 0 and we plug it in to one of the equations. Doesn't matter which one. I'll just pick the first one. So 2x minus 2y equals negative 10. So I'm going to plug in the 0. Sub in. Then I'm going to multiply. 2 times 0 is 0. Okay. Now, because I've got a 0 here, all right, I can kind of ignore that 0. If this were, because subtracting 0 on both sides or adding 0 on both sides doesn't really change anything. So normally I would subtract something on both sides, but in this case, it's a 0. Doesn't matter. I will divide both sides by negative 2, and I will get y equaling a positive 5. So normally this part would be a 2-step, but since our 2-step happened to involve a 0, we can kind of ignore it. And lastly, we have to check. So we'll use our other equation, negative 4x plus 2y equals 10. T-chart, negative 4 times 0 plus 2 times 5. So negative anything times 0 is 0. So the first part of this is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 0 plus 10 is 10. Number 9, multiply and then eliminate. Okay, so this is that case where I look at my two equations and, for example, 2 and 3 are not the same number with 1 plus 1 minus, can't cross those out. 4y and y, they're not the same number with opposite signs, can't cross those out. So what I highly encourage you to do is put a 1 here and decide, do you want to work with the x's, do you want to work with the y's? Now, personally, I would pick to work with the y's because this is a 1y. I can multiply a 1 by anything I want to. So that's easy. I want it to, if I have a positive 4y here, what I want the 1y to be is a negative 4y. So I will multiply the second equation by negative 4 because that will give me a negative 4y in that position, which is what I want. Okay, so the first equation stays the same. 3x plus 4y equals negative 7. The second equation I'm going to distribute through, and I'm going to get negative 8x for the 4 times 2 minus 4y. And don't forget to multiply the negative 4 and the negative 3 to get a positive 12. So the whole point of that was to make these two cancel. 3x minus 8x is a negative 5x. A negative 7 plus 12 is a positive 5. Divide both sides by negative 5. And I'm going to get x equaling negative 1. So I've got one of my solutions. Now I'm going to use one of the equations. It does not matter which one. I'll use the second one this time. Okay, I just found x to be -1. So 2 times -1 plus 1y equals -3. So I did my sub in. Then I will multiply. 2 times -1 is -2 plus 1y equals -3. Then it's your two-step. So add 2 to both sides. -3 plus 2 is a -1. And if I divide both sides by +1, it doesn't really change anything. But to keep going with our two-step, I'll just do that. Okay, then last but not least, remember guys, the check is important because you've just done a whole crap load of work to solve this problem, and you have every way of knowing that you got it right or wrong. And if you got it wrong, you have the opportunity to go back and fix it. So since I used the second equation for step 2, I'm going to use the first equation for my check. So 3x plus 4y equals -7. Draw my t-chart. So 3 times -1 plus 4 times also a -1. Okay, and -3, -4 make -7. Number 10, John bought a shirt and a tie at the store for $20. Okay, so he bought one shirt and one tie for $20. I would highly encourage you to make your T with a tail so it doesn't look like a plus sign. That week, the same store sold 40 shirts and 15 ties for $500. So we're trying to figure out the cost of each shirt and tie. Well, I'm seeing that I have equations in standard form. So I don't have anything that's the same number and one of them is negative, so I'm going to have to multiply one of the equations by a number in order to make it so I can cancel. So the first equation has 1's in it. 1's are really nice because I can multiply a 1 to be whatever I want it to be. I'm going to choose, now I could choose to cancel out shirts or I could choose to cancel out ties. I'm going to choose to cancel out ties because 15 is a smaller number. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to multiply both sides by -15. And I'm going to put the -15 on this side only because I haven't left myself room on the left-hand side. Okay, so my first equation changes. I distribute that -15 to be -15s minus 15t equaling -300. My second equation does not change, so I can just start working right now to cancel. I notice, and I created it so that those t's cancel out. So 40 shirts minus 15 shirts is 25, and 500 minus 300 is 200. Divide both sides by 25. And S equals 8. So what that means is that each shirt costs $8. So then we'll move on and figure out the cost of the tie. Okay, so a shirt and a tie cost $20. Well, I just found out that a shirt was $8. So I'll put 8 in the place of s. That ends up being only a one-step equation. So a tie is $12. So now I can check using my other equation. $40 times 8 plus 15 times 12. Okay, and I'm not going to try to do that in my head right now. So 40 times 8 plus 15 times 12 is 500. Okay guys, this last question on your review is bonus. There will not be a question like this on your quest where I'm just not going to tell you how to solve it, where I'm giving you 2 equations and you have to figure it out. It is up to you to decide how to solve this. You can choose to graph by getting both of them in y equals mx plus b form. You don't have to do that, okay? You could choose to solve algebraically, but I'm not going to tell you what strategy to use. That's what makes it a bonus, is you're figuring this out, okay? And if you complete this bonus on your review, like the normal review is 10 points, okay? That's your regular full credit. If you complete this bonus and it is correct, I will add on 5 points with a correct bonus. So that would make this homework worth a total of 15 for you. Okay? Good luck. Have a good day.